Hi friends, it's Sarah, the owner and maker behind Multifarious Nature. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are a new viewer, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I'm glad you guys are here for another episode. And I hope you have something cozy to drink or cool, depending on the weather by you. And let's dive right in, shall we? So, got myself some tea, considering it's 80 degrees today and balmy. Actually, it's quite beautiful here. It's a little overcast at the moment, so I do have some artificial lighting going on. So hopefully the lighting will behave. But there was sun out. Now it's very overcast again. So even though it's 80 degrees, I have some tea, but it's cooled down, so it's nice. It's actually pumpkin pie flavored tea, which is so good. Or not pumpkin pie. I think it's... what's the other pie that is sweet potato? I think it's sweet potato pie. I think it's sweet potato pie. I don't know if you can hear our rooster outside. He's got a very interesting little crow. You may hear him in the background. Anyway, he's right outside the window, I'm pretty certain. Oh dear. Okay, well that'll add to the atmosphere, won't it? So, for shop update and of things, I don't really have anything new for the shop update. I do have those new colorways in the shop that I mentioned in the last episode, so I do want to just reiterate that if you do want to get your hands on some. I just have very few that are dyed up in the shop currently, so available, ready to ship. But if you do want to do a custom order, like a sweater's quantity or like for a t-shirt or who knows, totally up to you. Pick your base and or shawl, let me know. I'm more than happy to dye a custom order for you in the colorway of your choosing. So always feel free to reach out. I love it and I welcome it. So thank you for those of you that have. And before I forget, because I sometimes forget to mention this, but if you do like the video, please make sure that you subscribe and like it with a thumbs up, because it does help me a lot. That's a free way that you can help me, and it helps others that have similar taste as you find me. So I always appreciate your support that way. And if you have done that or are going to do that, I greatly appreciate it. So thank you. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the shop update. I don't really have anything new dyed up in the shop at the moment. I did want to mention, I did dye up the last colorway last week for the 2023 Advent, Multifarious Nature Advent, the sock set. I dyed up the last sock set, you guys. I'm so excited. It was exactly what I was hoping for. It's so cozy, and I just really, really pleased with it. So I cannot wait to actually knit with it myself. Of course, I snagged one for myself, but there is, I believe, at least one available still in the shop. So if you are interested in purchasing one as a gift, you should definitely get it before it's gone. But you do have some time, but I say that because I'm not going to ship them until October. That's for sure. I'm definitely not going to ship them until October because I got them all packaged up and everything. However, it's end of October. But, if I still happen to have one and you order it later than that, then of course I would ship it as soon as you order it. But it's just the pre-orders are going to be shipping end of October. So exciting. All right. I love Advent season. It's so much fun. Okay. So that's it for shop update, end of things. No finished objects, but I did have a lot of work in progress, and I'm really excited to share with you. So, first, oh my gosh, I can't be trusted. It's violent. I'm beating myself with my hands here. If you guys haven't noticed in past videos, I'm a hand talker. And apparently I don't realize where my face is sometimes. It's terrifying. It's been a long week. Okay, so this week I did not get to knit on lunch breaks because I didn't take lunch breaks. I actually worked at a different office this week, and so my hours were different, and so I was allowed to work through my lunch time, and basically I could just eat in the office, and then I was able to leave an hour earlier instead of taking a normal lunch break, which is interesting. That was an interesting experience. I really like knitting in the middle of the day just because it's a nice breakup to my day. It's very relaxing for me. However, when I got home, I just sat myself down, took my lunch break, and did some knitting and things at home. So, but it's hard. It's really hard to do that. I'm sure for those of you that do that and have your lunch, like eat through your lunch break, probably deal with the same thing. You come home and it's really hard to like take a break. You really almost, it took me a bit to not feel guilty about it, actually. I'll be quite honest about that. I feel guilty, but I shouldn't feel guilty because everybody else that takes their lunch break gets their lunch break. So I shouldn't feel guilty about that, but yeah. So what I did this whole week, I made myself a cup of tea, I lit a candle, got kind of cozy in my little knitting corner here, and I knitted away for at least an hour because I get an hour lunch break at work. So I worked on my Birch pullover a little bit towards the beginning of the week, and then I really focused on my big cozy cardi. So I'll show you that shortly. So this is that Birch pullover by Andrea Mowry. This is using old mill yarn wool that I purchased during Michigan Fiber Festival. It's a beautiful, cozy, warmer toned gray. It is probably it's a worsted spun, so you can see it's light and airy spun, but it is borderline, it's like borderline lace weight. I'd say it's light fingering, but I held it double and I was able to get gauge. So I did do just a little bit of knitting on it. So here's my progress keeper from last week. So I did just do a little bit. This is half fisherman's rib, so it really does take about 2 rows to kind of get 1 row of length looking ish. Just for the knit looking stitches, it takes about 2 rows to get that because of the way half fisherman's rib works. I absolutely love half fisherman's rib. I absolutely love knitting on this. I didn't knit on it that much this week because I'll get into why shortly, but it has nothing to do with like getting bored of it or anything. Actually, I'm really enjoying it, and it feels really good on my hands because this is beautiful merino. I want to say it's probably 100% merino wool. These cones are not labeled. I literally just asked the person who works there, and based on the numbers on the cone, he can tell me the fiber content, and it's just merino. So this is just merino. It's 100% merino. It's so soft and fluffy. But I'm very much enjoying how it is turning out. I really like it, and I look forward to continuing to knit on it here in the very near future. I know I'll knit on this a bit more this week, but I really want to focus on my big cozy cardi because I'll show you guys. I'm very excited, and I'm really happy with what's going on. So, but this, I do look forward to being able to wear it. I don't want to rush through it, but I do want to knit on it. The rhythm of knitting half fisherman's rib is actually quite wonderful. And it's just like brioche, but I don't know. There's something about it I cannot describe. It's absolutely wonderful. So if you haven't ever done half fisherman's rib, I definitely recommend it. I'm trying to think if I would recommend this as a first-time sweater. If you have never knit a sweater, I don't know if you should start with half fisherman's rib. I feel like you should start with more of a traditional raglan just to get used to the way to like make one right, make one left type situation for raglan increases and decreases. But as far as like a first time half fisherman's rib, I would definitely recommend this pattern. I feel like Andrea Mowry really does a great job of explaining in detail how to do things. So she has tons of tutorials. She's really good about tutorials. So, I mean, I would highly recommend Andrea's patterns. I know she's a very well-known designer, and I do try to support small designers when I can, but Andrea, she is a big designer. She does a great job of giving discounts, especially around her birthday. She usually gives a discount code that is her 40% off that sheet of her age. So she turned 40 this year, so I got 40% off. So I do tend to stock up on a couple of her patterns during that time, because a better time than when you can get an extra special deal. So yeah, there you have it. I still have my lifeline in here. I do debate whether I want to move it down further, but I should have moved it down further when I split for the sleeves. That actually would have been a really good spot to do it, but I think I feel comfortable to leave it where it is. I don't think I'm going to pull it out. Excuse me, getting a little stuffy. Normally I do try to like move my lifeline if I'm going to do that. I'm really bad about using lifelines. To be really very open about that, I'm really bad about it, and I've learned the hard way a few times. And this was a sweater that I basically like learned the hard way almost. I was able to save it, which I'm really glad that I was able to recover it. But in the past, I have had to completely start over with a sweater when I was almost this far along. And to have to completely start over when you're almost done or just completed your raglan is absolutely a bummer. I mean, I love the process of knitting, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to that much work, it's just sad. So anyway, I fixed it. I did rip back that time I made a mistake. I have not made another mistake. And if I had, I found it out while I was still doing the row, so I could tink back. So I didn't have to like completely undo it, which thank goodness, because as I said, it takes 2 rows to kind of get progress on this. So yes, it's so squishy. Look at that stretch. I'm so excited. But it's so much fun. I highly recommend trying Half Fisherman's Rib if you haven't yet. All right, so that was the Birch pullover by Andrea Mowry, and the one project that I worked on a lot this week, which I'm actually going to talk a little bit further about how I worked on this project. So for those of you that have been with me for a bit, this is not a big surprise. I am still working on my Big Cozy Cardi by Andrea Mowry. It is this project that I have been working on since February. For those of you that are new, not saying there's any like timeline specific, but for me, I do try to turn things around quickly because I want to wear them normally. But this one I just very slowly have been working on, and it's a very large rectangle for the main body of it, so that's why it takes a while to do. But I am actually not mid-row for once. Yes. So you guys can kind of see this in the way it's supposed to be seen, sort of. Let's see here. Okay. I'm going to try to orient this. It's a cocoon type sweater. I don't know why I had to put such an emphasis on that, but it's a cocoon. So there are the 2 like sleeves, and then you've got this shawl-like collar so I'm almost to the point of working on the little cuffs. And then once you're done with the cuffs, you're done with the sweater. And what I mean by that is I am actually binding off on the collar. So I am doing, I don't think this is giving too much information away. This is a paid for pattern. I did tell you guys that I paid for this. But it is like a I-cord bind off. And that is going to be the entire shawl collar. So that's quite a few stitches to do the I-cord bind off. But I love doing I-cord bind offs. I love it. I know some people probably don't, but I actually very much enjoy I-cord bind offs. It's extremely relaxing. So this is on my alpaca cloud base. This is my Autumn Kiss. Autumn Kiss colorway. So I so far have used a skein and about 3/4 of a skein. So I'm definitely getting there. I think it would be at least like the two skeins of this base, for me at least, my alpaca cloud. It is alpaca silk blend, absolutely beautiful. And again, this is that Autumn Kiss colorway. I absolutely love this color. And it's so fun to work on this time of year because we're getting little touches of autumn kiss to the leaves. The leaves are starting to slowly turn beautiful shades of orange and yellow, and eventually a lot of them will start to turn more into these oranges and dark burgundy. So that's what this colorway is inspired by, is the autumn kiss. If you're not from an area that has autumn, this is autumn. To me, all those fiery colors and yellows is autumn, and browns, of course. So that is autumn kiss, and then I have my oh, for goodness sake, chestnut. My brain is just gone today. Chestnut colorway is the main body color. This right here is a perfect example of why you should alternate skeins if you want everything to look as one and seamless, but I didn't because I didn't. And it's okay because this is at my shoulder. So like this is around the shoulder region here. So in reality, my collar, my shawl collar, which is like a lot of inches, is going to be over the top of this. So you're not really going to see that, but for those of you that want it to be all cohesive, which I totally understand, what I recommend is either knitting every other row or like every row and you just carry your yarn up the side. I always recommend that. Not anyone, but most hand dyers will let you know that to alternate colors because they're all hand dyed. They really, truly, each skein of hand dyed yarn is one of a kind. However, when you dye it in one dye bath, the goal is to get them as cohesive as possible. But they're all hand dyed. So they're all going to be a little bit unique because they have been created by hand and not by a machine. So I always recommend alternating skeins if you want it to look as cohesive as possible. There you go. So rewind. So I found a new YouTuber, which I was going to talk about her at the end, but I'm just going to pop it in here too. This Yellow Farmhouse, I had to write it down so I won't forget, but her name of her YouTube is This Yellow Farmhouse. She's been recording for a while, it seems like, but I just stumbled upon her. She popped up on my channel, like as a recommendation, and I'm so grateful because I needed to hear it. I just needed to hear what she talked about. So she had a realization a few months back because she hadn't been doing her podcast for a bit, like a month or so, maybe a few months. And her realization was that she's like, gosh, it seems like we knit just so fast because we're trying to get to a finished product. We're trying to like produce the most things, or it's like more. Like that seems to be the society these days, right? More, everything more, and finish now. Well, she was kind of going back to like, why does she knit? Like, why did she knit, or does she knit? Why did she initially start knitting? Like, what's the point? And focusing more on the process. And I thought, you know what, that's true, because I do find like when I really start getting into the like product knitting, like I'm trying to knit to get the product, I'm really focused on it in a fashion where I'm trying to finish it quickly. I get stressed about it. Like it almost stresses me out. Like I'm going through the process of knitting and I'm like, oh my gosh, I get a little overwhelmed and it stresses me out. Well, that's not the point. Like, that's not why I knit. I knit because it's relaxing to me and it's a lot of fun. And so when she said that, it was like, it really hit home for me. And I'm sure it might hit home to a lot of you guys too. So that's why I'm kind of putting it out there. Not only because I had this realization, but also because I highly recommend her podcast. I haven't watched her like older videos, but because she talked a bit about how her older videos were getting and she didn't like the direction they were going. And I really appreciated that raw honesty. And yeah, I just really appreciated it. And I really related to what she talked about when it came to taking the time to really focus on the slowness and the experience and all that. So kudos to her for coming to that realization. And then I'm really grateful because I needed to hear it. I did. So what I did last week, I actually made an effort to do this. So some of you might just do this naturally, and that is awesome. You guys are all ahead of me. But what I actually did this past week, we're currently in it, it's Thursday, the 21st. So what I did this week, I literally, whenever I sat down to knit, I would knit slowly. And what I mean by that is that I would go into my stitch, like I literally had to like tell myself to do this because I had to try not to just try to go quick. What I actually did is like I would put my needle in and then I would do the stitch and I would watch the stitch be formed and then pull it off the needle. Now obviously I didn't go as slow as that. It was quicker than that, but it was still slower than I have been knitting. And I'm really grateful I did it. There's something truly amazing about focusing on the making of something, like the actual making of a stitch. I know I'm getting like, I'm gonna nerd out. This is my knitting nerd time, but there's something truly amazing about the making of something, like truly making something. And I think it was extra special to me in this process because I was doing it with yarn that I dyed. So this is yarn that I have hand dyed. So actually seeing it come to fruition from this dyed piece of artwork, which is a tool, to then being used to make something else that is now an item that I can then wear. So that process was amazing to me. So I slowed down. I fully relaxed. That's one thing I also noticed. Like I actually relaxed while I was knitting. And when I came out of knitting, when I was done with my sipping on my tea and my knitting, I actually felt like I took a deep breath, which is kind of unique because I haven't felt that way in a while. I used to feel that way when I would knit, and then I think I got to this point, especially since I do hand dye yarn and I do want to knit up samples, I get into this phase of wanting to get it done so that I have the sample. But really, it's about the knitting. It all started with the knitting. That's what got me to hand dyeing yarn. It all started with knitting. And I need to sometimes have that reminder. It all started with knitting and my love for knitting and the making. And I love it. And I truly do. It's so wonderful. So it's one of those things that I'm so grateful that I had that video come into my queue, be it as you view it. I don't know how you view things, but I very much believe that many things happen for a reason, and I'm really grateful that this Yellow Farmhouse podcast popped up in my recommended videos because I needed to hear it. So maybe you're one of those people that this is your reminder that to slow down and to actually experience the making process fully, like just experience it. Don't get wrapped up in the finishing. Don't get wrapped up in trying to get it done quick because you have to hit this quota of how many knit items you've done this year. I don't know if you guys notice, but I don't usually, I know podcasters do this, and nothing against those individuals, but I don't usually do like how my goals for knitting this year. I don't do that for a reason. I don't want to have like this expectation of I need to hit these many items this year for me to feel successful, because to me that would put a lot of stress on myself and take away from the joy of making. And that's why I did it. It's because I just enjoy making so much, and that process is really what keeps me going and doing the knitting, and it's so relaxing. So, and again, I always kind of start back to this. There's something truly, there's a connection, and I can't fully verbalize this because I'm not very good at it, but there is something about making that connects us to the creator. I really believe it. I think there's a reason why when we make things, we feel joy and we feel good. So take that with what you will. Maybe take that as a challenge this week. Maybe take that as a challenge for you, because she challenged me with, I don't know, she may have said it in the video, but I'm going to challenge you. So this coming week, if be it whatever you like to make, whatever your craft is, be it knitting, crochet, weaving, make it a challenge for yourself to do it slowly and with very methodical intention of focusing on each moment of making. And I would love to hear how that goes. So after your week of doing that, please comment and let me know how it goes for you, because it went very well for me and I would love that for you as well. So definitely share that for me. So that was a very long-winded explanation as to where I'm at with this project. And if you're still with me, bless you, thank you. I get winded sometimes, but I can't help it. I'm passionate about certain things, and I want to share that with you, because I enjoy when people share their passions with me. So there we are so far. I am just getting there, and I don't care how long it takes, but I do think there is a possibility that I might finish it by this coming weekend. If I don't, no shame there. I'm totally fine with it. But if I do finish it, that would be amazing, because then I can wear it. but I'm just absolutely enjoying the process. I'm doing I-cord, but prior to that, I was just doing either knit stitches or purl stitches back and forth, and it was absolutely amazing. I just don't know how else to put it. I don't have the word, but it was amazing. So there you have it. Okay, so that was my works in progress for this week. I only really worked on 2 because I just focused on the one primarily during this week, Big Cozy Cardi, and just really taking my time going through it. So I don't have a lot of works in progress to show you this week, and that's okay. I hope you're okay with it. I'm okay with it. And there'll be weeks where I might have more than 2, or I might only have 1, but I'm okay with that. All right, so now I want to talk about just some fun things. So for one, this is life update end of things. So if you're not in it for the life update, you're just in it for the knitting, then thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you next week. But for those of you that are interested in life update, I'm going to talk a little bit about a book I'm reading, hand spinning. Stick around for the rest. And but for those of you that aren't interested, have a wonderful rest of your week. And for those of you sticking around, all right, let's get into it. Life update. So as I mentioned, a podcaster, I should start listing some podcasts that I stumble upon, because I like to support other people as well. And this yellow farmhouse really hit home for me. She is I believe she's a pattern maker, from what I was understanding. She handwrites and she makes patterns. She's a pattern designer, and primarily knitting. I think she does some crochet too, just from what I was hearing her talk about in the couple videos that I saw. But I was very impressed. She does, she talks more about slow knitting. Her videos editing style is kind of amazing. So she records her hands knitting, and she's talking to you as she's knitting, which I love. I could listen to those videos, the kind where she is knitting and just like slow knitting and discussing it and her life, like what's going on. I could listen to her all day. I really could. So I did watch one of her older videos, and I do kind of see what she was talking about, or she was really getting into more like trying to make it video oriented with fancy video editing and all that. And I have to tell you, I really appreciate that she went back to her roots of just the slow knitting. And by just, I mean focusing on the making, right? Like, I love that. So I do highly recommend her video to check out, this yellow farmhouse. I will include a link to her videos below. And yeah, slow knitting. I love it. So that, I highly recommend her. What I am reading is, actually, you know what? I'll get into spinning first. So I did some spinning. I have been working for a bit now on a Shetland fleece, a ram fleece, and I purchased it from Ballyhoo Fiber Emporium out of Kentucky. And the ram's fleece, his name was Curb. Unfortunately, he is no longer with us. He did have a very sad accident, from my understanding. So unfortunately, this fleece that I have is his last fleece. Yeah, very, very, very sad. So I still have a lot of it. It was a large fleece. I think it was almost 7 pounds. So I have quite a bit more to spin up, and I'm so grateful. It was a lot of fun to spin so far. I did 2 bobbins that I then plied together, and this is how much I've got so far. So I actually plied them. I did 2 ply. I'm going to make a sweater out of this beautiful fleece. He is primarily a cream colored fleece, but he does have a little bit of like black bits, or dark gray basically. And that's just then kind of a little bit of barber pulling throughout the fleece here. So it'll just be little hints of that kind of coloration, but the primary color is this beautiful cream color. If you can see, there we go. Also focus. I am very much a newbie spinner. I'm still getting there, you guys. I am getting more consistent as I keep going along. I'd say this is probably a sport weight. Yeah, it is probably sport weight worsted. I could probably get away with worsted. So I definitely want to make a beautiful sweater out of this. I'm leaning towards the, I know, another Andrea Mowry pattern. I'm sorry, you guys. I purchased a couple from her birthday sale, so I really want to knit from patterns that I purchased. I'm trying to get better about that, like work for patterns that I have using yarn I have. So I want to knit, I'm pretty sure, the Weekender with this. I've not done the Weekender yet, and I love the look of that sweater. So I think this is going to become a Weekender. Pretty excited about it. It's very soft. This, like I said, is a Shetland fleece. Shetland is notorious for being warm, strong, and just absolutely wonderful. I love Shetland. For those of you that don't know, well, I'm thinking if you're sticking around this long that you might know, we are looking into getting sheep next year, so Shetland sheep are the breed that we are leaning towards, and I'm very much a huge fan of Shetland. I have a couple Shetland fleeces, the Curbs fleece here, and then I have 2 fleeces from Ballyhoo Fiber Emporium's Black Dahlia. I have 2 of her fleeces as well. It's very exciting. And now we shall get to the book I've been reading. And by reading, technically I'm listening to it. So, funny story. So I purchased this book last year. It's not a brand new book. It's been out for a while. It's called The Devil in the White City, and it's by Erik Larson, and big fan of this writer. I like historical books. I think this falls under historical fiction. Huge fan. So this is very dark. I'm gonna call it dark. I'm just gonna put that preface here. I of course use anybody else use their receipts as a bookmark. So this is where I was at last year. I'm actually a little further now. So I listen to audiobooks, and I listen to it in the morning, and sometimes I do it while I'm spinning. So I've been listening to the audiobooks. It finally came in at the library. I just get audiobooks from the library for free. So unfortunately, if I can't renew it, I'm gonna have to start reading it again. Not unfortunately, I really should read, but it's hard. I don't know how to knit and read yet. And many books, not all, but like this one in particular, is teeny. I'll show you a corner here. it's teeny tiny writing. It's pretty teeny. So if you're trying to like glance at it and knit, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. So I'd love to knit and read, but that's not gonna happen. I don't think it will. I think I like having them separate because I'm like I said, when you're focusing on making the process of knitting, it's hard to do that while you're reading. It's really hard. So, but back to the book. So I've been listening to it, and if you're not familiar with this book, it is definitely dark. It is a historical fiction. So I grew up an hour north of Chicago and spent most of my life there. So I'm slightly familiar. Yeah, if I read some of this will kind of tell you a little bit. So, Devil in White City, murder, magic, and the madness at the fair that changed America, and it has to do with the World Fair, and that took place in Chicago in like 1893. So I'm just gonna, 1893. I'm just gonna read the little synopsis on the back. Take with it what you will. I kind of got back into this because Halloween will be approaching soon. Fall is coming up, and this kind of time of year makes me think of more like this kind of creepy, dark, and it is creepy. Let me tell you, it is very creepy. So I will just read a little bit about this and let you guys figure out if you want to read it. Okay, bringing Chicago circa 1893 to vivid life, Erik Larson's spellbinding bestseller intertwines the true tale of two men, the brilliant architect behind the legendary 1893 World Fair, striving to secure America's place in the world, and the cunning serial killer who used the fair to lure his victims to their death. Woo! Combining meticulously researched with nail-biting storytelling, Erik Larson has crafted a narrative with all the wonder of newly discovered history and the thrills of the best fiction. So, there you have it. So, that's why it's kind of awesome, because not only is it storytelling, but he also combines historical actual information in here as well, and it has to do with an actual serial killer that did live in Chicago during the World's Fair, and it's very disturbing when you think about that, but the historical part of it is fascinating to me, and it really is crazy to think that this went on very near where I grew up. So I have a little bit of a I don't want to say nostalgic. Nostalgic does not seem to be the right word to use for this, but I don't know. It just hits home to me. But I think it's very fascinating. It's disturbing and creepy, but cozy in its own right. Probably because of fall and all of that. But if you haven't yet read it, I do recommend it so far. I am just getting into the cusp of it, but I have to say it is absolutely fascinating. So there you go, Devil in the White City. But be prepared, it's a little gruesome, and by little, very. So there you go. So I prepared you, I've warned you, and I haven't even fully read it, and it's definitely creepy. All right, and then last but not least, just something fun for the home. I don't know if this still is at these stores, because I bought it last year, this time of year-ish. But once in a while, I do like to treat myself to a fun candle, because it adds a wonderful atmosphere, the smell, aromatherapy, all that good stuff. And I picked up this last year. It's Tuscany candle. So I got it from Meijer, which is like our local grocery shopping center. So I don't know if they carry this around you anywhere, but if you look it up, maybe you can find it. I don't know. But I just thought it was fun. And it's called the Hallows Eve Apothecary Collection, and the name is just fun. So it's fermented toad. Does not smell like fermented toad, but that does sound disturbing, doesn't it? More of that kind of fall, Halloween end of things. With its charred peach, firewood, and poison apple scent. It smells so good. So I've got that burning right now, just to give me a little bit of wonderful atmosphere and aromatherapy. Love it. So there you go. I hope that inspired you guys to get into the cozy spirit and check out some new reading material possibly. And definitely try to slow down your making process this coming week. I would love to hear how it goes. Definitely comment below. I always love hearing from you guys. And I hope you are doing well. I hope you are creating and staying healthy and just enjoying this wonderful season that we are currently on the cusp of, which here in the north is autumn. Have a wonderful rest of your week. I look forward to catching up with you soon. Take care.